So if you're a personal trainer and you've been going through feast or famine, this video is for you. We're going to go through how to create a lead magnet so that you can start to attract people into your business, nurture a relationship, and eventually convert some of those people into paying clients. Today, we're going to speak specifically about webinars and how they can be used effectively in your business. Let's get into it. Andrew, how are you doing?
I'm very well, Eric. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, thank you. Andrew, let's get
Good, good.
into why our listeners watching today. We're going to talk about webinars as a lead magnet before we go into webinars specifically and give some examples of what you've done yourself in your business and some examples of what I've done in my business. For somebody who's listening for the first time, who has only just come across the term lead magnet, just give us an overview of what a lead magnet is in your opinion.
It's just in the very basic degree, a free piece of valuable content that you can give away to a prospect in exchange into receiving their email address. So you're giving something of value, and they're trading something of perhaps even more value in their name and email address, so that you can then have their details added to your mailing list so that you can build rapport, build a relationship with them through ongoing email. The examples I've used in the past, as an example, is if you walking past. I'm in London at the moment, and I love going down to Borough Market, and we were there at the weekend, and there is a stall there, and they were serving mushroom risotto with spelt, and they're handing out little spoons with samples on that you try. That's delicious. Oh yes, how much is it? Oh yes, and there's my evening meal. So they've done
Yeah,
given their lead magnet,
yeah,
which has resulted in me buying their product. Your lead magnet could be as we've discussed over the weeks, a free meal plan, a workout they can download, a workshop, anything like that. Whatever the format, the goal's the same. Give your ideal customer something generally useful that they can take away for free, and in return, they get added to your email list.
yeah. No, that's perfect. And just to sort of put into not context, but into a system as to how we use lead magnets. Because one of the mistakes that you and I both spoke about in the past that we've both made is we put lead magnets out there that are just random. They're just ideas we've had. They're not really related to anything in particular. We've put them out on social media and we hope they're going to do the work for us in terms of people suddenly messaging us to say, oh, I read your freebie recipe pack. I read your or watched your workout or whatever it might be. Can I work with you? It doesn't really work like that. Sometimes you might just strike gold and someone does
That's
contact
it.
you, but more often than not, that's not going to happen. So I just want to quickly share with you watching today the system that I use myself, and Andrew used something similar himself
Sure.
in terms of where that lead magnet sits. So it's not something as a separate entity, it's part of a whole system. So let me just share my screen with you now. Let me know when this comes up. Okay, let me know when that's on your screen.
Yep, that's up and running.
Great stuff. So let's just talk about the lead magnet and where it sits. So we have a whole system for your lead magnet. First of all, let's start off with what we call a signature offer. This is your service that you are going to offer to a specific person with a specific problem, ideally somebody who is prepared to invest a reasonable amount of money. That's your signature offer. Within that signature offer, you will have lots of different components that will help that client get to their end result. In my case, it was weight loss for career women over 40 want to lose 30 to 50 pounds. So I will take a slither of my signature offer and turn that into a lead magnet. Over here, this is the lead magnet. And the key thing to understand is when you offer that slither will do one of a number of things. Either A, it will solve an immediate problem. For example, the recipe book might just give them recipes for the next 28 days, so it solves a problem. It may give them a workout, which is an idea of what they could do, or it may just shift the perspective in terms of the things you're discussing. But it must add some sort of value, as you've rightly mentioned already, for the individual to invest not only their name, their email, but also their time to consume the said thing.
Good
So
point.
that's the lead magnet. That's what's going to attract them. That's going to get them to raise their hand. We need to make sure it's packaged attractively, whatever it might be it a webinar, be it a recipe book, be it a workout, it's got to be well packaged. It needs to be delivered via something that's reliable. I use a platform called Kajabi to deliver my lead magnets, and I'll show an example of that in a moment. Once they've received said lead magnet, they then go into a kindling sequence, an email sequence, which is pre-written and automated. And that's the key thing to understand. Once they've got your freebie gift, they should be automatically signed up to a sequence of emails that can go out over the course of 7 to 10 days. But the key thing is they're automated, which means you can be working with a client, means you can be on holiday, means you can be sat watching Netflix. You're not physically doing anything. You've set this up and it's working in the background. And then the final element you need is a source of traffic to get eyeballs onto your lead magnet. In my case, I use a lot of YouTube video. So I'll create a video, and within that video, within the content and the value I'm offering, I'll make reference to a specific lead magnet that relates to the topic I'm speaking about. So if I'm speaking about nutrition, I might say within that video, and by the way, if you want a free healthy eating plan, click the link below, and that'll give you access to my 28-day healthy high protein diet plan. If it's a workout, I'll say something about workout or whatever it might be, but it must relate to the topic I'm discussing. So this is the system in which your lead magnet should ideally sit. It doesn't have to be exactly like this, but it should be some sort of a system whereby you put your thing out there and people can access it independent of you and be nurtured without you having to be there. And if you want to get some specific training on this, there will be a link below this video that will take you to the Client Growth Engine Blueprint that goes through all of that in detail and will help you to come up with an outline of your signature offer, an outline of how to get this whole Spark system going, and also talk about some of the systems you need to have in place to make it all work. So that's available just by clicking the link below. But before we dive into webinars specifically, Andrew, anything to say on this system here and how you've seen it work for yourself or something similar?
Yeah, I've got a couple quick things to add to it. In that, firstly, having a system, I think, is so important. That's why we stress, and that's why each week when we do this, we're trying to showcase to you that if you have, as Erak says, not necessarily that the exact system, but a system, then that puts you leaps and bounds above your local competition. Because I'm finding, and I'm a little surprised still to this day, that um, PTs are more and fitness professionals were more marketing savvy, but we're just not implementing, the necessary frameworks and foundational elements we need to be able to grow our business. Um, and secondly, Erak, I think, did a good job of explaining it, but I want to pull out the point that a good lead magnet should not try to solve everything. Um,
Yeah.
as an example, I was talking to someone in the week. They shared with me a lead magnet that they'd put together, but it was almost like the ultimate guide to fitness. It was almost a war and peace novel. There was too much.
Yeah, yeah.
So as Erak says, we want to sliver out or splinter out elements. So I looked at it and looked at the process they took clients through and who their target clients were,
Mm.
that essentially dads 40 plus. So we determined that, hey, the mobility element of your overall program is good, and that would be attractive to that demographic, men over 40. So we put together 7-minute morning mobility plan for dads 40 plus. So that was A, it was specific, and B, it was part of their overall signature system, as Erak says. So it makes it more clear, it makes it specific, and it speaks to someone directly. So they're drawn in and interested, and you're pushing away those people that aren't dads 40 plus, which is great because they're never going to buy from you.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely perfect. So we're going to go into webinars. I know you've got some examples there. I have a few examples as well. And just to make sure we don't sort of go too off piece with this, just to say, first of all, comment below if you do have a lead magnet at the moment. We'd like to know if you
Yeah,
have a
please
lead
do.
magnet. Put a comment below. Let us know what your lead magnet is. And it's also worth saying with webinars, and I'm sure Andrew will touch on this as I will indeed as well, is that delivering a webinar online sometimes might have evolved from an offline talk that you gave initially, and then it evolved into something online, and then eventually it could become something that's more automated. So without giving the whole game away, Andrew, I'll allow you to share what you have as examples, and I'll show a few examples of my own, or one example at least.
Yeah, sure. First one here is
Hey,
can you see that?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
God, I look even younger there.
Yeah.
Not sure about the glasses though, but hey.
Andrew,
Um,
and just click to the title slide first of all, so we can see what. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so basically, this was run a number of years ago. And actually, as you say, this originated as a talk I did in person.
Mm,
Webinars at that stage were just becoming a thing.
yeah,
This is going back 12, maybe 15 years ago now. But I was no nervous as anything. I would not, I would I would not. The worst thing you could do to me would be put me in front of a group of people and
mm,
talk. But I realized at an early stage that if I wanted to succeed, then that's exactly what I needed to do.
sure.
And when you start talking, like anything, you get experience. And with that experience, you improve. If you do it again and again, you learn what works, what doesn't, and you get a better feel. I look at this and cringe. I won't go through it, but it's just text. There's no imagery or anything. And I was reading from it in the initial stages. But as I said, this started out as an in-person event, but
Yeah,
then I repurposed it to record it as a webinar
yeah,
that went out, so I could promote more of an online and expand my reach. Ultimately, I had clients in Canada. I was based in the Isle of Man in the UK. Had a local audience, but I was able then through the power of the online platform to be able to work with a greater number of clients, but equally, across the world.
yeah,
But to show you what you can progress to, and again, I would even progress more from this one if I go to, was one that I helped with a client. We put together, we knew that they had a growing market for for pensioners. This was people 60 plus.
yeah.
And we developed this from an in-person a community workshop that he ran, but then we were able to quickly repurpose it as found that this was a growing market that we could attract outside of Melbourne, where Nick's based, into looking at a wider picture. So again, we were able to dive into that and refine that approach, and then from there, a call to action for them to download an ebook, which then directed them to their online training program.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, and roughly how long were you recommending that those webinars should last for, just as a ballpark figure? What were you aiming for?
We were initially doing it around about an hour, but we were trying to get it down to around about 30 to 45 minutes, so that we had a bit of time to then Q&A.
Yeah,
But equally, to be able to look to engage some interaction through the chat
mm,
on there, because we learned through doing them in person that the real power, and I'm sure you've probably experienced this as well, Eric, in that by chatting and talking them through rather than reading slides or reading off screen,
mm,
you're able to build a better rapport and just gauge what questions, and being able to answer those questions either directly there and then, or get those questions and then answer them towards the end of it before you lead into a soft call to action. And I'll say soft. It's soft, not a hard sell, but it's a clear call to action. This is the next logical step to take, so that people don't feel sold. And I think, like you've mentioned previously, even at the very start of it, say, hey, look, we're going to be talking about how you can work with me towards the end of it.
Mm.
So you can prep them that there will be that opportunity, but it's not a hard sell.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, for sure. Okay, let me share. I've just got the one example of my, I guess, latest webinar. I'll show the landing page. And
This will show the progression of of
well,
how we approach things as well.
yeah, yeah, it's a little bit different. So, this is the back end of my Kajabi platform. So you've got a title, you've got a little image there, what you can expect, put your name, put your email in. And again, this would be promoted within the context of a video. I might be discussing and I say, look, if you want more information, I put together a free masterclass, click the link, and they'd land on this page. And they get here, it tells them what to expect within the webinar. Also, a little bit about me, so they know who's going to be speaking, although they've heard me in a video, some testimonials, and then they click there and they go to the actual page itself, once they put the details in. So enter your details and get started today. Once they enter, they then come to this page and let me know when it loads up.
There we go.
Yeah. So I'm not going to press on it and play, but basically it's me speaking on a video, delivering this holistic weight loss masterclass. And it lasts for roughly about 40 minutes, roughly 35 to 40 minutes. And at the end of it, again, they've got the option. They can click here now to book a free weight loss discovery call. There's more social proof here. There's a video testimonial. Again, they can click here, a bit more about me, where it's been featured. And again, they can book a call. So this has been automated. And as Andrew already said, this talk that I gave as a webinar started off as a live face-to-face talk. So if you haven't listened to the lead magnet that we did in terms of talks, giving live talks, go back through the catalogue of these series of videos that we've done, and you'll see one on talks, and there's some invaluable tips in there where we speak
Absolutely.
about how to structure your talk in such a way that it engages people. Webinars are a little bit different, a little bit of a tweak to them, but essentially it's a similar sort of a framework. So there's a couple of examples of webinars. Maybe just comment below if it's something you're interested in. And again, that you've got the free training as well if you want to go through the whole creating your signature offer system and the sparks and the mechanisms behind making it all work. Click that link below. But any sort of final points on webinars, Andrew, before we close this one down?
Yeah, just in, I guess, phrasing maybe more than anything. We're calling it a webinar, which it is essentially, but call it a workshop, call it a masterclass, call it what you will, but don't get too fancy with the naming, because you want your audience to understand exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's a televised or a video learning opportunity for them. So um, don't go too out there with the naming convention of it, but by all means call it workshop or masterclass if you like. But another thing as well, don't underplay this as a marketing tactic to employ. They work incredibly well. Um, the video, and you can put this onto YouTube, and as we know, YouTube and Google love video, as do the social media platforms. And it's another way of just getting you out there and building your authority, showcasing your expertise,
Mm.
um, outlining the experience that you have. All of this is designed to then raise you as an authoritative figure in your field and builds trust, and that's what people are after these days. And that's what all of the search engines are looking for us to showcase, that we've got experience, we've got expertise, we've got authority,
Yeah.
and there's trust, and you will be rewarded for that.
No, and just to echo that point there about the trust. So, and the thing I like about webinars and indeed live talks as well, and we've already said that you can progress from live talks to webinars, are the fact that when you are stood there or when you're on screen, automatically you've elevated yourself to that position of being the expert. And it's a chance for people, especially the webinar, for them to get to know about you from a distance, a safe distance, because they can hit the back button or the stop or the pause to decide whether or not they actually like you, the way that you put things, the way you answer questions, the way you explain things. And then from that, obviously, comes the trust. So I think it's one of the fastest ways to get people to potentially book in a call with you over and above just a social media post which they're reading about. They actually get, because look, ultimately, whether you're seeing somebody face to face or you work with them online, they're going to have to interact with you at some point. And if you put a video out there, I can guarantee 75% of people watching it will not like it. That's fine because we're not trying to work with everybody. You want to work with that 25% that have got an interest, and of that 25%, a small portion of those will contact you, and out of that small portion, some will become paying clients. So it's just getting really in your own head that not everybody's going to like your videos. You know, when you do like on YouTube, not that I'm not big enough to get hate mail yet, but I know that some of the bigger influencers out there, they get all kinds of horrible comments. You've got to accept that. That's just par for the course. Same with doing a webinar. You put a webinar together, someone's going to watch it and go, it's a load of rubbish. That's fine. They're not your customer. They're not going to be your client. Don't worry about that. You just need to be confident in what you're talking about, get it out there, and start marketing the heck out of it. And I personally think webinars, for me, webinars, live talks, and YouTube, for me personally, I think are the best for me. But I think for PTs, I would say they are probably the strongest mediums to get yourself out there to be known, liked, and trusted because it's you delivering as you. Um,
Exactly it. Exactly it. And you say about hate comments and things. I got on one of my recent ones, I got told I need to get a wig. So I thought, yes, I've made it. Somebody's having a pop at me.
yeah,
I must be there's awareness building, which is great.
there's always the keyboard warriors out there that you always
There
encounter.
is.
But look, hopefully you've enjoyed this week's episode. We spoke about webinars as a lead magnet. Again, don't forget to check out our previous episodes. We spoke about different lead magnets. They follow a similar sort of format, but they give you a different insight, a different idea, different examples of what you could do as a potential lead magnet. And looking forward to doing the next one. Until next time, Andrew, thanks for your time again, mate. And we'll do the next one shortly.
Yeah, pleasure as always. See you all soon.
Okay, bye for now.